Hello, everyone. It is Cannabis News. I'm your host, Joe Klare. It's January 10th, 2020. The show, as always, is presented to you by the Marijuana Times. Find us at marijuanatimes.org. Lots of great stuff there, including all the episodes of this show. Click the video tab, marijuanatimes.org. Today, we're talking about Maine getting ever closer to actual adult use sales in the state. Also, a new hearing next week over federal marijuana law reform. We'll talk about that. And a newfound cannabis compound could be 30 times more potent than THC. Is it? We'll find out. Oh, that's coming up. Was that dramatic enough? That's right. Professional. So we call in the biz a teaser. Before we get to all that, we have our awesome sponsor, Natureside, nature-side.com, and their organic all-natural pesticides grow safe and poison-free with Natureside. Don't use harmful chemicals or banned pesticides. Be regulatory compliant in the state that you're growing in. You can do all these things with Natureside. Thank you, Natureside. Nature-side.com, a proud sponsor of Cannabis News. This first story by Julia Granowitz and MarijuanaTimes.org. Maine is finally getting closer to recreational cannabis sales. Yes, this might actually be the year we see sales of adult use marijuana in Maine. The state is hoping the cannabis industry will be home to more small businesses rather than big brands and farms. Local businesses that are already operating as medical marijuana retailers are putting in their bid to sell to recreational consumers as well. The Maine Office of Marijuana Policy has begun accepting applications. They're hoping retailers will be operational by the spring of 2020, maybe as early as March. You know, as early as usually never happens, but this year, 2020, after legalizing in 2016, 2020, Maine finally seems to have all the roadblocks out of the way, and will have adult use sales. Paul McCarrier, who owns One Mill in Belfast, said what we're hoping to see is that this is a Maine-based system, much like a lot of our small breweries, and we've seen that be very successful, so we're hoping the state will be willing to work hand in hand with us. Obviously, a lot still to see, and time will tell as far as how the recreational market in Maine shakes out. But the point is, it's on its way. I know a lot of you in Maine have been waiting quite a while, just a little bit longer. At least they say. You know, if it gets delayed or something happens, don't blame me. I'm just reading the news. I'm not running things. Director complains to the Maine Office of Marijuana Policy or whatever. It's the next story. And from Marijuana Moment, federal marijuana reform will get another congressional hearing next week. I mentioned this briefly in a previous episode, and I decided it'd be good to go more in depth into it. Comprehensive marijuana reform will be at the center of another congressional hearing next week. A key committee announced on Wednesday, 2 months after the House Judiciary Committee approved the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act, otherwise known as the MORE Act, a comprehensive cannabis legalization bill sponsored by Chairman Gerard Nadler. The issue will be the subject of another discussion in an Energy and Commerce Subcommittee. That's right, the ever-exciting Energy and Commerce Subcommittee. The topic will be taken up by the panel subcommittee on health on January 15th. So it's the Energy and Commerce Subcommittee on health that will take it up. Energy and Commerce Chairman Frank Pallone, who's a Democrat from New Jersey, and Health Subcommittee Chairwoman Anna Eshoo, a Democrat from California, said in a joint statement, quote, as public opinion continues to evolve and cannabis policies change at all levels of government, it's important to bring federal agency officials together to discuss current and future federal cannabis policies. We're particularly interested in examining the implications of changing marijuana's Schedule listing, the potential of cannabis research, and federal efforts to review and approve cannabidiol products. It's not clear if the hearing titled Cannabis Policies for the New Decade will focus on specific legislation such as the MORE Act. So far, the committee has not listed any witnesses who will testify at the meeting. So that will be up next week. More discussion over federal marijuana law reform, a good thing. Because as we know, before action, there's going to be a lot of discussion, especially in Congress. Lots of discussion. So get to discussing. Get all that out of the way. Get the very long discussion started so it can end sooner. Thank you. This last story from LiveScience.com. Newfound cannabis compound may be 30 times more potent than THC. Yes, that's right. 2 newfound cannabinoids have been discovered in the glands of the cannabis plant, and one of them may be at least 30 times as potent as the high-inducing compound THC. No one knows, however, exactly what effect these cannabinoids actually have on the human body. And they go into describe how THC binds with receptors in the body and how it produces the high. The THC lookalike is named tetrahydrocannabidiol, THCP, seems to interact with the same receptor as THC, the receptor known as CB1. This according to a new study published on December 30th in the journal Scientific Reports. The key difference between THCP and its cousin lies in a chain of atoms jutting off the newfound compound. Basically, I mean, I could go through this, but a lot of people are not going to understand it. I barely understand it, and I've read it like 6 times. The structure is, they did this with mice, and there's a certain amount of rings that help THC. You know what? I don't know well enough to describe it, so I'm just going to read it, and we're going to learn together. Because this will be like the 7th time I've read this. I'm not a scientist. I never claimed to be. I get the basic idea, but no more than that. Research suggests that the protruding structure is called an alkali side chain is what allows THC to plug into its preferred receptor. The cannabinoid must carry at least 3 carbon rings in its side chain to gain access to CB1, and THC compounds typically carry 5 of the rings. On paper, the cannabinoid equipped with more than 5 carbon rings would fit even more snugly into the receptor, and 8 carbon rings would supply the absolute perfect fit, eliciting the strongest biological response. THCP has 7 carbon rings in its alkali side chain. When applied to a makeshift receptor concocted in a lab dish, the compound tended to bind to the substance 30 times more reliably than THC did. So basically, it's better THC than THC as far as what needs to happen to bind it to the receptor. And what that effect has, what that effect will be, who knows? In mice, researchers gave it to lab mice and found the animals behaved as if they were on THC. Their movement slowed, their temperature decreased, and their reactions to painful stimuli diminished. The animals reached this state in relatively low doses of the new compound. It would take about twice as much THC to induce the same effects. So it could be twice as powerful, according to lab mice. Obviously, a lot more is going to have to be learned about this. But it's interesting nonetheless. We're still finding out new things about the cannabis plant. And there are people who say, oh, we've done enough research and we know what we need to know. No, there's so much more. We'll still be amazed 10 years from now, the things we're finding out that the cannabis plant can do. Things we should have found out a long time ago, but prohibition, etc., and so on, kind of delayed progress on that a little bit. We'll continue to follow all these stories and more here at Cannabis News. It's the end of another week. Go have a great weekend. We're here 5 days a week. Check us out on YouTube. Search the Marijuana Times on there. Thank you to Natureside, nature-side.com, and their organic, all-natural pesticides. Of course, safe and poison-free with them. They're an awesome sponsor. Thank you for watching this show, continuing to share it, spread the truth about cannabis with it, liking, commenting, all that stuff. Please continue to do all that as well. We will spread the truth about cannabis with your help. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching and listening today. We'll see you next week right here on Cannabis News.